Malik hadn't been back to Blockley in 17 years. Not since he left for Columbia with a duffel bag full of second-hand sweaters and a partial scholarship that was more of a gesture than a lifeline. He used to tell people he was from outside Philly. But now, the whole world knew exactly where Blockley was. The convoy rolled past rusting playgrounds and shuttered corner stores. Humvees parked outside faded churches like they were fortresses. Soldiers with stone faces and polished boots blocked streets Malik used to bike down barefoot. A little boy watched the trucks from a front porch, thumb in his mouth, eyes wide. A female sergeant barked into her walkie-talkie, not bothering to look at Malik as she motioned for him to step out of the car. "Press credentials, sir." He held up his CNN badge. She squinted, scanned it with a handheld device, then stepped aside. "We've been told not to let anyone else in," she said. "So unless you're Jesus or Jake Tapper, don't bring any friends." Malik gave a dry smile. "Just me. And I was born here." Her eyes flicked over him, pausing for half a second longer than necessary. "Lucky you." Inside the perimeter, Blockley looked quieter. Not peaceful, just stunned. The way a boxer looks after a punch he never saw coming. Cars lined up outside the dollar store, folks whispering outside barbershops. A church sign read, "Pray hard. God sees all." Spray paint on a brick wall screamed back, "But does America?" He didn't stop at his mother's house right away. First, he needed to see the place that had always made him feel the smallest. Blockley High. The gym doors were open. Cots lined the floor in neat military rows, guarded by men with rifles. An emergency shelter. A safe zone. Or maybe a staging area. "Ain't this some shit?" a voice called from behind him. Big-time Malik Rowe, back in the land of the forgotten. He turned. Otis Clemens. Same limp. Same crooked smile. Fewer teeth. "Otis," Malik nodded. "I heard your ass on TV last year, grilling that senator about prison reform. Thought, damn, that boy found his balls after all." He chuckled, then pointed at the gym. "You here to save us, superstar?" Malik shrugged. "I'm here to find out why Blockley's got a target on its back." Otis's face changed. The humor left it, slow and sour. "You know damn well why. Same reason we've been ignored for decades. Only now they finally said it out loud. Whole world actin', surprised like they ain't seen this movie before." They walked through the gym together. An old woman lay sleeping on a cot, curled around a purse. A little girl watched cartoons on an iPad with a cracked screen. The smell of disinfectant clung to everything. "You know who's still alive?" Otis said. "Coach Thompson. Blind in one eye. Lost his wife to COVID, son to fentanyl. Still shows up here every damn day. Says he doesn't trust the feds to take care of his people." Malik said quietly, "He's not wrong. You think those suits in D.C. would let this happen in Vermont? In Palo Alto?" Otis spat on the floor. "Nah, they picked us 'cause we won't scream loud enough." A radio crackled somewhere. A woman cried softly in the next row. Malik's chest tightened. He left Otis behind and finally headed to his mother's house on North Bailey. Her porch light was still broken. The gate still squeaked. Inside, the living room smelled like lavender and fried onions, just like always. "Boy, you took your damn time." Gloria Rowe didn't hug him. She never did. But her eyes softened for half a second before hardening again. "You look tired," she said. "You look good. Don't lie to me, Malik." He sat down. She handed him a plate, fried chicken, collards, cornbread. No words. Just a mother feeding her son, even if the sky was falling. "They searched the house yesterday," she said, eyes fixed on the TV. "Military boys. One of them looked like a baby. Said he was sorry. Did they say what they were looking for? No. But you know what they were really looking for? Something that makes this place matter. Some reason to treat us like more than ghosts. Malik chewed slowly. The food was heavy in his mouth. Everything felt louder here. The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the fridge, the weight of unsaid things. I found something, Ma, he said. She didn't look at him. I figured you would. A dossier. Declassified NSA files. Iran leaked it. Blockley had a listening station. Back in the 70s and 80s. They were spying on black activists. Here. In this neighborhood. You surprised? I'm horrified. That's just the second stage, she said. First comes surprise. Then horror. Then you gotta decide if you're gonna do something about it or just go back to pretending the world is fair. They sat in silence. Outside, a helicopter passed low over the house. The walls shook. Then Gloria looked at him, for real this time. Whatever you found, Malik, you better be ready. 'Cause the minute you open your mouth, they'll come for you too. And not with bullets, with silence, with doubt, with shame. He swallowed. I think they already are. The next morning, Malik walked to the church on Chestnut and 4th. The streets were unusually quiet. Not just still, watched. He noticed cameras he hadn't seen the day before. Portable towers with facial recognition gear, soldiers posted on rooftops. 2 men in DHS jackets stood across the street, not looking at him, but absolutely watching. Pastor Ezekiel Monroe opened the door before Malik even knocked. You took your time, the pastor said, motioning him in. The church was dim, the pews pushed back. Folding chairs had been arranged in a circle. A dozen people sat waiting. Elders, young mothers, one man in a janitor's uniform. Jayla Freeman sat among them, her hands in her lap, her eyes on fire. Town hall, the pastor said. Real one. Not the sanitized military version they held last night at the high school gym. Malik raised an eyebrow. Did they even let you in? No, Jayla said. They said we weren't on the pre-screened list, which is code for we only want scared people who won't ask questions. Malik set up his small recording device. May I? The room nodded. Ezekiel began with prayer, a quiet one, bitter around the edges. When he finished, people started speaking. They say they're protecting us, said an older woman. But they searched my daughter's apartment. Flipped her baby's crib. Didn't even apologize. The store's out of insulin, someone else said. They blocked the trucks. Called it a supply chain delay. But we all know what that means. They're treating us like we're already dead, Jayla said. Like we don't matter. Like we're just collateral. Malik watched her. She was 17, but her voice cracked like someone twice her age. Sharp. Unapologetic. When I was a kid, she continued, they taught us about Hiroshima. About Nagasaki. And I remember thinking, what kind of monster drops that kind of fire on people who can't fight back? Now I get it. The monster doesn't think it's a monster. It thinks it's God. The room fell silent. Malik leaned forward. What if I told you Blockley was chosen on purpose? Not just to make a statement, but because they knew we wouldn't resist. You think we're passive? Ezekiel asked. I think they think you are. Jayla snorted. They're wrong. Malik pulled out his phone and scrolled to the decrypted file. Screenshots. Redacted lines. Annotations in Farsi. He showed them one by one. This was leaked by Iranian state hackers last year. No one took it seriously then. But it's real. Blockley was one of 6 urban observation zones secretly monitored by the NSA during the 70s and 80s. We were surveillance ground zero. Why us? Someone asked. Why not Harlem or Oakland? Because we were invisible, Ezekiel said. Easier to hide shame in a place no one ever looks at. Malik continued. The Iranians found this and twisted it. They built a narrative around it, one that would look righteous to the world. They claim they're defending Black America from white imperialism. But really? They picked Blockley because they knew no one would fight to save it. Because they knew the government would hesitate. Jayla stood up. So we're bait. Yes. She turned to the others. So what do we do? Let them burn us to make a point? Or finally become impossible to ignore? The church door slammed open. 2 soldiers stepped in, rifles low but visible. A third man followed, in a gray suit. Malik Donnell Rowe? The man asked, flashing a badge. Agent Collins. Federal Bureau of Investigation. We need to talk. Privately. The room froze. Jayla's fists clenched. Why? Ezekiel asked. We just have a few questions, Collins said. Nothing serious. Mr. Rowe, would you come with us, please? Malik stood slowly. Do I have a choice? Not really. They led him outside to a black SUV, then drove 5 blocks and parked. Collins turned in his seat. We've been monitoring your communications. I'm a journalist, Malik said. That's illegal. So is disseminating classified material, which, according to our records, you're preparing to do. CNN hasn't published it yet, which is why you're still free. Malik stared. So this is intimidation? No, Collins said. This is prevention. Mr. Rowe, what you have in your hands, that leak, is not the truth. It's Iranian propaganda, laced with just enough truth to spark chaos. Are you saying Blockley wasn't a surveillance hub? I'm saying it was, and that the Iranian version of the file is doctored. Timelines changed. Context stripped. They want people angry. And scared. Malik said nothing. If you publish this, Collins continued, you'll accelerate the crisis. And frankly, you'll paint a target on this city bigger than any warhead ever could. You already did that, Malik said coldly. Collins sighed. Think about your mother. About your people. Walk away, Rowe. You don't have to be the martyr. Malik stepped out of the SUV without another word. Back at his mother's house, the tension hung like humidity. Gloria sat at the kitchen table, flipping through the local paper. There was no mention of the church raid. Just a headline, Pentagon considers retaliation measures. They came for you? She asked. He nodded. And? They said if I speak, I could make things worse. Worse than this. He didn't answer. She pushed the paper away. Malik, baby, you think this is just about truth? But truth without power? It's just noise. It's music to the ones who wanna keep us quiet. That night, Malik couldn't sleep. He watched videos of Jayla speaking at a protest last year. He read through the NSA logs again. And then, at 3:12 a.m., a message appeared in his inbox. No sender. You're only seeing what they want you to see. Meet me at the old garment factory. Midnight tomorrow. Come alone. Malik stared at it, heart pounding. Who? How? The file attached was only one image, an internal NSA memo dated 2022. Subject line. Op Recon. Active site confirmed. Blockley, PA, reopened 2015, upgraded 2019, ongoing. He blinked. That meant it was still active. The old garment factory on the edge of Blockley had been abandoned since Malik was a child. They used to dare each other to run through it. Floors rotting, windows shattered, rust clinging to iron beams like mold on skin. Now, Its silence felt engineered. Too silent. He arrived at midnight sharp. One flickering overhead light buzzed to life as he stepped through the rusted doorway. A man stood in the center of the floor, partially in shadow. Civilian clothes. Gloves. Hood. "You came alone?" "Yes," Malik said. "Who are you?" "Someone who used to believe in this country." The man stepped into the light. Mid-40s, hard lines on his face, the air of someone trained to vanish. "You worked for the NSA?" 15 years. Cyber operations. Counterintelligence. Then signal security in Blockley, before I saw what we were really doing here. He handed Malik a flash drive. No flourish. Just wait. That's the real version. Not the leaked one. What Iran has is partial, edited, redacted. This is what they were trying to find, and what your government buried deeper than any missile silo. Malik took it slowly. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because you already dug too deep. They're going to discredit you, or disappear you. And because someone in Blockley deserves to know the truth before it vanishes again." He turned to leave, but Malik grabbed his arm. "Is the site still active?" "Fully. Reopened under the Patriot Act, disguised as telecom infrastructure. Monitoring activist networks, racial justice organizers, encrypted communications from black communities in the Northeast." Jesus. "We justified it as counterterrorism. But it was always about control. Domestic containment. Every movement that starts in Blockley dies in D.C. They make sure of that. And Iran knows? Not entirely. They have a piece of the puzzle. Enough to make noise. Not enough to understand the game. So they used Blockley to call out American hypocrisy. And America let them, because stopping them would mean admitting what we did." The man pulled up his hood. "You want justice, Mr. Rowe? Here it is. But justice in this country always comes with a target." He vanished into the dark. Malik didn't sleep. He reviewed the files for hours. PDF after PDF. Internal memos. Intercepts. Budget approvals signed by officials still in power. One name kept recurring: Op Midnight Ward, a black signal intelligence operation centered entirely around preemptively identifying emerging civil unrest in low-income African American communities. Blockley wasn't chosen as a symbol. It was headquarters. Still is. He thought of Jayla, of Ezekiel, of his mother. Then, at 4:26 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You publish that story," a voice said calmly, "and we will release video of your father meeting with federal agents in 1979. You'll discredit the entire movement. You'll burn your own city." Click. Malik stared at the screen. Cold crept into his bones. They knew. He drove to the CNN mobile unit set up just outside the city's border. Reporters weren't allowed in past dusk. The producers were tired, pale, wired on caffeine. "You look like hell," one of them said. "I have the story," Malik replied. "The real one." He showed them the files. At first, silence. Then disbelief. Then one of the anchors, Michael Wu, former war correspondent, leaned back and exhaled. This is a nuclear truth bomb. If we air this, we're not just implicating the U.S. government. We're basically confirming the Iranians' claims." "Not exactly," Malik said, "because the Iranians manipulated their version. They lied too. Blockley isn't symbolic to them. It's useful. It's quiet. They chose it because they knew no one would fight for it." "So what do we do?" the producer asked. "We tell the truth. All of it. And let the world see both sides playing God with black lives." Back in Blockley, Jayla was already organizing another meeting. "You ready?" she asked him as he entered the church basement. No. But it doesn't matter. He pulled up the real files. Project Midnight Ward. Active in 2025. Full list of monitored individuals. Jayla's name was there. She blinked, then looked at him. They've been watching me? Since the protest last year. She sat down slowly. They're never gonna let this out. They can't stop it anymore. They'll kill it. They'll twist it. Say it's fake. Say you're fake. Then they'll have to come for all of us. Jayla smiled. Not joy. Just defiance. Good. That night, Malik went live. CNN ran a special segment. A breaking report, anchored by Michael Wu, with Malik standing in front of Blockley's water tower, half-lit, a shadow over his shoulder. This is the truth, he said, straight into the camera. Not polished. Not convenient. Blockley was never just a symbol. It was infrastructure. It was strategy. And the reason we're here, on the brink of annihilation, is because both our enemies and our own government learned to treat a black city like it was disposable. They weaponized our pain, our silence, our trust. He uploaded the full dossier to CNN's site. Within an hour, the page was mirrored on 30 independent platforms. Then the death threats came. Then the blackout. All of Blockley lost power at 2:14 a.m. At 3 a.m., Malik sat on his mother's porch, alone. The sky was too quiet. The kind of quiet that felt like it had teeth. Gloria stepped out and handed him coffee. So, she said, you did it. I don't know if it matters. You told the truth. That always matters. They might come for me. They already did. But they can't bury the whole damn city, Malik. Not anymore. Then, across the street, lights began turning back on. One by one. Then a siren in the distance. Not a warning siren, a protest horn. A crowd gathered in the dark. Hundreds of residents. Silent. Holding candles. At the front, Jayla. No more secrets, she shouted. No more silence. We are not disposable. Malik stood up. The broadcast had ended, but the story was just beginning. By sunrise, the world had changed, and no one was acknowledging it. CNN's report was viral. The dossier had been downloaded millions of times. Blockley was trending again. But the White House remained silent. No official statement. No press conference. Just a spokesperson muttering on background that the network was reviewing the authenticity of documents not previously seen by federal oversight. The government wasn't fighting the truth. They were starving it. Malik sat alone at the CNN outpost, eyes sunken, neck stiff from tension. He'd received over 400 death threats in 12 hours. Some anonymous. Some with real names. One had included a photo of his mother leaving her dialysis appointment, taken that same morning. He didn't tell her. He just stared at the phone, wondering which call would be the last. Then came a new notification. At the Real Patriot report. Exposed. Malik Rowe's father was an FBI informant during the Black Power era. Is betrayal hereditary? Malik's heart plummeted. Attached was grainy surveillance footage. His father, 1979, shaking hands with a white man in a government suit outside a post office. There was no audio, no context, but that didn't matter. The story was out. They had warned him, and now they were burying him under his father's shadow. By midday, a protest had broken out in front of the mayor's office in Blockley. The crowd was restless, angry, confused. A few held signs, "We believe Malik." Others held, "We deserve the truth. All of it." In the middle of it, Pastor Ezekiel Monroe stood on the steps. "We are not a city of vengeance," he boomed into a megaphone. "We are not pawns. Not of Iran. Not of Washington. Not even of men who call themselves truth-tellers." Malik arrived just in time to hear the last sentence. The crowd turned. Some cheered. Some didn't. Ezekiel spotted him. Their eyes locked. "You want to speak?" the pastor asked, offering the mic. Malik stepped forward slowly. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man walking a minefield. "Some of you hate me right now," he said, "because you saw that video. You saw a father's moment, twisted into betrayal. And maybe you're wondering what that means about me." He looked out at the crowd. "I'm wondering the same thing." He let the silence breathe. "But here's what else I know. My father died broke. Quiet. Alone. He never cashed in on any secrets. He never ran from this city. And if he did work with the feds, maybe it wasn't to betray us. Maybe it was to survive. But I didn't come here to defend him. I came here because I thought the truth mattered. Even when it's ugly. Even when it hurts. Even when it makes all of us uncomfortable." A few heads nodded. "I didn't ask for this. But I'm not walking away from it, either." He handed the mic back. Ezekiel paused, his face unreadable. Then he leaned in. "You should have come to me before you made this war public." "I tried," Malik replied. "No," the pastor said. "You tried to win. There's a difference." That night, Jayla Freeman called a community meeting. Not at the church, but outside the library, under the open sky. Over 400 people showed up. Old, young, angry, afraid. Jayla took the mic. "No teleprompters. No protection. I'm not here to defend Malik, or criticize him. I'm here to ask you one question. What now?" She let it sit. "The government tried to erase our history. Then they tried to silence us. Then they tried to discredit the people who spoke up. So now we have a choice. Do we let them write our story again, or do we write it ourselves? We don't need CNN, or Iran, or the feds. We need each other. And we need to be dangerous, not violent, unignorable." The crowd erupted. Malik watched from a distance. She was becoming what he could never be. And maybe that was the point. The next day, DHS agents showed up at Malik's motel. This time, not polite. "Mr. Rowe, we're detaining you under suspicion of unlawful possession of classified intelligence." "That's public record now," Malik replied. "We disagree. They didn't cuff him. That would have looked bad. But they took his laptop, his phone, his backup drives. And they made sure there were no cameras around. 6 hours in a white room. Fluorescent lights. No clock. No food. No lawyer. Just questions. Who gave you the drive? Did you know the file was altered by a hostile state? Are you aware this material threatens national security? He answered everything with the same phrase. The public has a right to know. Eventually, they let him go. No apology. Just a warning. You're not the story, Mr. Rowe. Don't confuse truth with heroism. When he got back to Blockley, his motel room had been ransacked. The TV was smashed. On the mirror, written in lipstick, "Rat." He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands. His phone, now a burner, buzzed once. A message from Jayla. "We're not done. You still breathing? Then you still matter." Outside, the church bell rang twice. Then again. And again. People were gathering again. Blockley wasn't dying. Not yet. 6 weeks later, the lights came back on at Blockley High. Not because the federal government restored funding. but because the community did it themselves. Retired electricians, teenagers with toolkits, pastors with battery packs. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. Blockley was learning to stop asking permission. Malik never went back to CNN. Technically, he wasn't fired. They called it a mutual pause in engagement. But the message was clear. "You've become part of the story, Malik," a producer told him over the phone. "We don't want to compromise objectivity." He didn't argue. Instead, he stayed in Blockley. At least for now. He helped rebuild the community tech center, delivered groceries to the shut-ins, walked with Jayla to the library each week to teach kids how to encrypt their own devices, how to protect themselves in a world that listened too closely. People stared at him in the streets. Some nodded. Some turned away. He understood both. His mother never said, "I'm proud of you." She never needed to. But sometimes she'd pass by his room at night, pause at the door, and mutter, "You didn't break it. It was already cracked." The news cycle moved on. Within a month, Blockley was replaced by other headlines: trade wars, celebrity trials, something about another wildfire season. The leaked NSA files were never acknowledged officially. A few lawmakers introduced watered-down legislation to reassess internal surveillance protocols. It never made it past committee. Iranian media called Malik a brave son of the American resistance. U.S. conservative networks labeled him a useful idiot for foreign propaganda. Most Americans forgot about him entirely. And that's how Malik knew he had won. Jayla didn't fade. She grew. Within weeks, she was invited to speak at a youth summit in Atlanta. Then a panel on surveillance ethics at NYU. Then a virtual town hall that went viral on TikTok. She refused every invitation from mainstream networks. "If they ignored Blockley when we were a target," she said, "they don't get to make us pretty now." Malik watched her speak sometimes, hidden in the back. Once, after a panel, he walked up to her. "You remind me of someone," he said. "Who?" "Angela. Baldwin. Maybe a little of my mother. All of them. But not really. You're something else." "That good or bad?" "Terrifying. In a good way." She smiled. "You still scared?" "Always." "Then you're still useful." One rainy morning, a small box arrived at Malik's door. No return address. No note. Inside, a phone. Brand new. Clean. And a message burned into the screen. "You told part of the story. Ready to hear the rest." He stared at it for a long time. Then turned it off. Then turned it back on. 2 weeks later, he sat in a small room above the old garment factory, the same place where this all began. The flash drive from Chapter 1 was now part of an encrypted archive. The full files, annotated, verified. He started recording again. Voice calm. No theatrics. "My name is Malik Darnell Rowe, and this is part 2 of the truth." He paused. "Last time, we talked about surveillance. About how black cities like Blockley were never just overlooked, they were designed to disappear." But that was only the surface. He tapped the next folder. What happens when surveillance becomes strategy? When silence isn't accidental, it's manufactured. He stared into the lens. There are still names they haven't said. Still hands pulling strings. We're going to say them. Fade to black. To be continued.